So we're just about done with the truck, prepping the truck. We've got the copper weld through primer sprayed on the underneath of the floor. There's that. And we got it the whole way. And this bracket here, so I'm done with it. I'm going to, it looks a little creepy, but it's super solid. And I'm going to fill the rest of that with seam sealer just so it looks nice. But strength is what counts here, not looks. And the reason we're using a copper weld through primer, the zinc primer, actually zinc melts at a much lower rate than copper does. So when you start welding, that zinc can burn away. But copper has a higher melting point, and it will stay. It'll remain behind, and it'll seal. So this is the bottom half, and we're ready to start prepping our rocker. Okay, so now we've gotten to the point that we're actually going to fit the new rocker onto the truck. And so since I'm doing this myself, I fashioned a little cradle there that you can see out of 2x6, and I'm going to use the floor jack to help jack this into position. So, you know, it's not heavy, but it is cumbersome. And since I have to fit the A, B, and C pillar with the flanges that I cut, I figured this is going to be an easier way. I can go little by little, fit as I go along, and it should make the process a lot easier. So as you can see, that's what the truck looks like. And there's my cradle. So I'm going to start raising this and we'll be back. Okay, as you see, we're getting close. This is the A pillar. There's the B. And there is the C. So we're going to have to do a little adjustment back here. As you can see in there, a little hammer and dolly, because that's got to fit under that lip that's pulled up, but we'll get that fixed. Nice. Okay, so here we are getting ready to fit the donor rocker onto the truck, and I'll be honest with you, it's a time-consuming process. I got a couple hours into it right now, but this is one of these things that it's slow, but you work through it and you'll get it, grinding and adjusting. But this gap here, this is not the gap that's going to stay. This is just a rough fit. There's the B pillar. Now, what I found and what I can tell you is you want to start this process, you want to get the A pillar done correctly. You want that one fitted properly, because the A pillar has like very little movement. It's very solid. The B pillar here can be manipulated back and forth, and there's really even play in the C pillar here. You can move that around a bit, but it's the A one that doesn't move, or doesn't move much. So when these trucks are assembled in the factory, you know, they have hundreds of ton presses that press this stuff together, and it all starts with the floor pan and everything's pressed against it. So what I was having a problem with here is this gap right there where that floor brace goes against the rocker, and I couldn't tighten that up just with vice grips. So time to pull out the 10-ton porta power, and I got it braced against the concrete foundation there, so it's not moving, and just some light pressure to push into the rocker, and then do some welding. So here's my initial weld, and all that's going to be filled in because I'm kind of neurotic about how it should look. I'd like it to look like you can't see the seam at all, even though no one will see it. And then in here, it tightened up that gap, and the rest will be filled with caulk. So I'll show you what that looks like underneath. Okay, so here we are under the truck, and this panel here, that's your floor brace, okay? And you can see I got it welded into the rocker. And I basically just button welded, filling all the holes that I drilled where the original spot welds were, as you can see. And I'll grind those down nice and flat. I just like it to look clean. And it's kind of how I roll, you know. If you're gonna do it right. And so those holes there, you're probably wondering, well, to tell you the truth, didn't need to drill those. I thought I did, but I didn't. I didn't have to tell you that, but I did. Yeah, drilled those by mistake, but that's okay. I could fill those up and it'll be good as new. So there you go. I'll grind those down and we'll move on. Okay, so we've got everything lined up and we're welding in the C-pillar. And I just want to show you my gap, and you see the underlayment there, the flange that I put in, and tack welds. You start with tack welds because you're more interested in positioning and making sure everything lines up than you are in strength at this point. So tack welds is the order of the day. And you don't go balls out, you just a little bit at a time, maybe 1.5 inches apart. And as it cools, you fill in between them. So we're going to tack all the way around, as you can see. Like that. Going to tack all the way around and eventually fill it in, and when we're done, we're going to have a beautiful seam. And there you go. Okay, so here's my C-pillar, and I'm just about done with all my welding. Just have a couple little touch-ups, but you know, you don't want to go nuts here. You don't have to. Just as long as it's structurally sound, that's the most important thing. But as you can see, we got a little niche there, that's from the grinder. But this is your original seam right there. And as you can see, it is just about invisible. So a light coating of Bondo, very light, and that'll be perfect. Nice. Okay, so did we forget about the inside? No, we didn't. Okay, so this is a shot of the inside C-pillar seam, and we'll zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, this was my splice point right there, and I put a nice thick bead of weld on there. I grounded a little, but you know, it's never going to be seen, and it's basically structure. So I cleaned it up a little bit. I'm just going to leave it. Put some seam sealer over it, paint it. It'll be beautiful. But that's our inner structure. So next, we're going to be filling these holes and welding the floor to the rocker. Well, we got a beautiful day today working on the truck. It's about 90 degrees, and I had the opportunity to pull the truck out in the sunlight so you kind of get a better look at what's going on here. So you can see we've got the new rocker welded in, and we're going to clean up these seams, add a little Bondo, a little skim coat, fill these in, and then prime them. But before I finish that, I got a little bit of welding to finish, just minor stuff. You can see, did the inside, there's the floor. Still got to grind those down. Still got to finish that back seam there. Got most of these floor welds done. Got to do some welding in here. This is the interior part, so I got to do some welding there. We'll finish that up. That'll go quick. And we're going to finish some welding there. So we'll come back when that's done. Oh, and what I've also decided to do is this here, this seam, I think I'm going to grind this back because we're going to be running either 38s or 40s. I haven't decided, and I want to open up and get a little more clearance there. So we're going to cut that down a bit. So we'll come back when it's done. Here we are at the A-pillar, and I caulked this last night, as you can see. Got the seam sealer in there, and it goes all the way up into the floor. So I got that baby sealed. No moisture is going to get in there. All all the way through here. Lift that up. See that? But what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be putting some Bondo on these seams. So this has already been DA'd with 80 grit, and you can see once you DA it, you can see how that seam looks pretty good, you know. And we'll go over here and we'll check the B pillar. So you can see both sides look pretty sharp. Got the seam sealer in here, and then here is the C pillar all the way around and back. But as you can see, when you DA that, you can see the seam where we're going to need to fill, but it's not going to need a ton. So we're going to get to bondoing. I just finished sanding the first coat of Bondo on the A pillar. And as you can see, really, there's not a lot. Not a lot. Got some on the inside there. And no one's going to see in there, but I'm going to know it's there. And I've always felt the difference between a good job and an outstanding job is attention to detail. So there's our B pillar. And we got some pinholes in there that we're gonna fill up with our second round. But I basically sanded this to contour, and it's pretty darn close already. So, and then there's the C pillar, and you see I got a crater right in the middle of there that I got to fill. So, and then around the back, still got a little work to do in there. But she's coming along. I gotta say, she's coming along. So I'll be back in a little bit. Wow, look at this. She's beautiful. So it looks a lot better, huh? So not so scary. So what we did here is put on a coat, actually 2 coats of epoxy primer. And we've got our bodywork mostly done. And some people think you do the epoxy primer first, do bodywork over it, do Bondo over it. Not a big proponent of that. I actually prefer to do the bodywork first, then seal it with epoxy primer, and then if you have to go back and do a little bit of Bondo over it, you can do it. I mean, the epoxy primer is built for that, but that's kind of like the way I'd like to do it. And then wherever you need a little fill, you can do a polyfill, Eastwood's polyfill. That's a sandable primer, and that'll fill in any imperfections. Like we've got some body lines here. Kind of hard to see, but need a little work, just a little bit. Not much. That'll be block stuff that'll come out. So, but and of course we got inside. See, we got all up in there, and we've got the floor, and then of course we've got inside, and the floor here. All inside, got the floor there. Inside. Very nice. Very, very nice. So, there you have it. So just a little background. When I started this project, originally the idea was I was just going to do the driver's side rocker. Because it was horrendous. It was ready to fall off the truck. And that's where I started. And it was going to be a project. It was going to be do the driver's side rocker. And then do the passenger side later. I mean, I've got the passenger side. I got both of them. But that was really going to be the project. Do one rocker. put her back together, and do other stuff later. Because I had plans for this truck that I never really carried out. So, well, change of course. Kind of decided, what kind of idiot takes a truck apart to this point to do one rocker and not do the other one? Well, not me. Because taking that bed off is a pain in the ass, and I never want to do it again because I'm doing it by myself. So we're going to rip off this passenger rocker too. So we started on it. We started drilling our holes, as you can see, just like we did on the driver's side. I got those all drilled. See? All the way up, just like the other side. And we're going to do this one a little bit differently. Now that I know how to do it, we're going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to use a plasma cutter, thanks to my brother. There's my weld torn, my plasma cutter. But I had to order the plug adapter for it, so we're going to be delayed a couple days until that comes. But I actually had plans for this truck. I had bought a suspension system, a custom lift, a really cool long arm system that I never put on. And I've also got a really cool Fab 4 front bumper for this thing that I never put on. And, you know, I had all kinds of aspirations of doing a lot of other stuff to this truck, you know. Like I said, lift, maybe fender flares, you know, really make it unusual, you know. I like vehicles like that. You see it go by, and people would know, oh, that's got to be Chris. It's the only one like that. I like that. But I decided that's what we're going to do here. So as we go along the journey, I'll introduce some surprises here and there. But yeah, we're going to do the whole 9 yards. I'll show you how I paint the doors. We're going to paint the fenders. The hood's already been done. But I'm thinking about maybe some stripes or some kind of graphics or something that would be cool, so that when we're done with this project, this baby is going to look a lot different, and it's going to be awesome. So stick with me, and I'll show you how to do every step. Hey everybody, thanks for watching the video. I'm going to be dropping a lot more over the coming weeks and months, detailing exactly step by step how I took this truck apart and put her back together and got her back into this condition. So don't forget to like and subscribe and share, and if you have any questions or comments, put them in below and I'll answer them as quick as I can. So until then, hasta la vista.